Yeah, what's up? What's up? Once again, welcome back, each and everyone. Great Black Detox Wednesday clinic here at Great Black Detox TV, and this is the show, guys. This is the clinic. This is the moment in your week where you get to ask questions, enjoy the conversation directly to the man on my left, Dr. Amsu. Yours truly, Mr. Breaks, right here on GB TV, Great Black Detox TV. Listen, welcome everyone once again. It's Wednesday, so you know that means we're talking all things health, we're talking all things detox, we're talking all things about you, what you've been doing and what you can do to get your health on track and to ensure you have a worthwhile, fulfilled, energetic, long future here on this God's green earth. Isn't that right, Dr. Hampson?
That's right, that's right.
So, Dr. Hampson, man, what's been on your radar this week? I said it.
Good news about the mandates.
Yeah, they're slowly being lifted in a lot of different places, in a lot of different ways. I saw today, I believe they lifted the mandate on education facilities and stuff like that. So for schools, vaccine mandate for that. There was something lifted about travel the other day. And I guess the states are responding in their own ways. It's going to cascade down. But from a federal level, it's good on many levels, I guess. It, helps to instill confidence back into the, into the people. Because I think people are feeling very unsure about what the future held,
And I we both know a lot of people who were coerced, who felt pressured through their livelihood, through their work, through their jobs, who took the vaccine, and whether they took the second one or even booster, down to their workplace and everything like that. And we were telling everybody, hold out. If you don't want to take it, hold out, because even if they pass a law, the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. And, see if you can hold out until when it hits Supreme Court, because that's where we're going to know how this thing's going to go. And a lot of people have taken the vaccine and are gutted now that it seems as though they took it for nothing. Especially people who were in good health, who were young, in good health and that, who didn't have any, comorbidities, no underlying pre-existing conditions and that.
Didn't want it.
Hearts go out to them because, it was their livelihood under threat. The coercion, the narrative, and it really goes to show the surprise of progressives, people who call themselves progressives, who have become so conservative when it comes to the subject of the pandemic, coronavirus, COVID, vaccine and all that, that they're really not interested in having conversations or debates or, if somebody has a disagreement, has a different opinion, that they'll just deem them misinformation or disinformation.
Well, no, I think it's very interesting, very telling how so many people who, again, whether coronavirus or not, we're not even talking about the virus necessarily. We're not getting into the science of the virus. We're just talking about how society, right, has dealt with this. So let's say it's the zombie plague, right? Some, disease X. It's really interesting to see how so many people who are, liberal, supposedly liberal in
right, progressive,
or
lefties,
even libertarian or whatever,
slight left,
really, who back, people's rights and freedom to choice and all the rest of it, who fell on the side of the sort of draconian aspect of this and were really pushing for the mandates and they're behind a lot of this legislation to force people, to coerce people into taking these vaccinations. And again, take the disease out of it. It's the way people react. Whether there is a real and apparent fear, how we as a society deal with that. I think a lot of things are being exposed and a lot of people are being exposed. And, a lot of people are going to have a lot of splaining to do to regain some of the trust that I'm sure they've lost. Now, it works both ways. I'm sure a lot of people have gained a lot of trust as well because of their stance on this. But it's just been really, really interesting to see how many people are just really just willing to not just give up their rights, but freely give them away, have them on, on the doorstep with a, glass of warm milk and cookies, please come and take. And that's more troubling to me. I think this country's going to take a while. And listen, we're not saying we're out of the woods. we're not necessarily out of the woods, because this happened before where, restrictions have been, released, and then there's another wave, and then, more measures come in, then they, ease those, and then there's another wave. So I don't want anyone to sort of get too happy just yet. Interesting thing, and, if there's some experts on the call, they can fill me in on this. Is it coincidence? Is there some irony there as to how this is sort of mapping with the stock market? So there's been sort of I wouldn't say a crash, but there's been somewhat of a depression, I'm just using general terms, in the last few days. And we've had these sort of just random lifting of these restrictions, either before or after. That's why I don't need, maybe experts can tell me, were the restrictions lifted and then the stock market crashed? Or did the stock market crash and then they lifted the restrictions because they've started to see possibly how it's had an effect on the economy? And maybe it's taking its toll now. What'll be Q1?
I mean, check this out though. How many businesses went under? The middle America, like we got middle class America, which is the backbone. The backbone of a society is its middle class, because that's the central point, the equator, the median between rich and poor, right? So people who have time to study, who have to work, but also have time to study and learn, learn shit about this and that can have an opinion to represent, because our politicians are supposed to be from middle class, where they or upper working class, those people who know what it means to work for what you have, right? It's not passed down. It wasn't through any kind of exploitation, slavery, or whatever. It's not the landlords, the nobles, and whatever, the aristocracy. People who have our best interests at heart because they come from the same stock as us, that want what's best for us. But we vote them into power, and then they give in to the whims of big tech, big pharma, to those same, oligarchs who have been controlling the world forever. And we don't even have a say. We don't have a say on what's being discussed, what is allowed to be discussed. We're just told you're not allowed to discuss that. And that's another thing that happened, where Biden basically spoke to big tech to say, stop allowing people to spread misinformation on your platforms. And then a whole bunch of people were whose YouTubes were monetized, they cut them off. You had people like Neil Young threatening Spotify, it's either me or Rogan. And Spotify's like, Rogan's got 30, 50 million subscribers. That's a no-brainer for us. But all these people who, Neil Young's a musician, and you'd think a musician, everyone's entitled to their opinion. All of a sudden, no, you can't have an opinion if it's people's lives at stake.
And here's the thing. I think, one thing the pandemic and the reaction to it has done is really, yet again, something else that's polarized, right? Thinking, polarized thought, whether you believe there's people thinking or not, right? However they get to their conclusions prior to, and they stick to that, right? Back for the home team, it's deeper polarization. But what I think is a bit more unfortunate with this one is that people are now ever more willing to suppress the rights of others, whichever side of the fence you sit on, right? So if you're pro-vaccine, then yes, let's imprison and kill everyone that's not. And if you're not vaccine, then you guys are all crazy, and we should rebel and take down the government, And so, but no one's talking, no one's thinking. But the thing, and then we're going to move on. What upset me really, again, regardless which side of the fence you live on, right?
I disagree that people who are unvaccinated are waging war against.
I didn't say that.
No. All
right. Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be misconstrued that both sides are equally being ignorant or anything like that. It's where you have this push for everybody to become vaccinated, and there are people who are vaccinated who are saying it should not be mandated. You have people who are unvaccinated saying it should be my choice. I should have give informed consent, right? Which has always been the law when it comes to anything medical, informed consent. And I think, there are there are people who, you know, can be deemed foil wearers, you know, tin hats and whatever, right? Who, all right, there ain't no such thing as the virus. There ain't not such thing as viruses, you know, 5G and all these, you know, those types of people who, you know, may take it to an extreme where it's like, you know, now you're going into far-fetched stuff and you lost me right there. All right, there are those people. But at the end of the day, what you were saying earlier about, it's about rights. It's about the right to choose. It's about, all right, if I want to take my chances with this virus, I should be able to do it. And the twisting of the arm, right, or the narrative was, no, you're putting people who, other people at risk if you don't get vaccinated. But the crazy thing is, look, if I'm not vaccinated and all the other people are not vaccinated, we all are like, you know, we all signed our waivers that, all right, we're willing to take the risk. Who would we, unvaccinated people, be putting at risk if people are vaccinated against the actual virus? Like, what is the point of the vaccine? Is to protect people from the virus. So even if I have the virus, if you have the vaccine, you should be protected. That was the point of it. But now, you know, people being told, if you don't get vaccinated, you're putting the vaccinated people, the ones who have chosen to become vaccinated, you're putting them at risk. It's like, where's the risk?
And I guess, you know, that adds to the polarization. I'll probably get back to the point I was talking about maybe later on. Maybe not. It's not that important. And I think that really adds to the sort of a lot of the misconfusion and disinformation, excuse me, is, you know, we were told that, because, you know, they use the word vaccine. And if it is a vaccine, it's a vaccine. If it's not a vaccine, don't say it's a vaccine. So just using that word is really adding fuel to that narrative that this is a vaccine. In other words, this thing is going to prevent you from getting this, is going to protect you, going to give you some level of protection. What they ended up saying was that, okay, it's not obviously, it's not a cure, obviously. It's not going to prevent you from contracting it, catching it. It's not going to stop you from spreading it. What it's most likely to do is prevent you being in hospital, prevent you, you know, having maybe the symptoms being as severe as not having it. But it doesn't really necessarily protect the population. So now it's a hospitalization prevention drug, right? Which, again, works in varying degrees. You either have to have it, then a booster, then another booster to keep you out of hospital. Now, what started to upset me was they were coercing people who were in the low risk group that they had to have it. Right. You know, it's almost like Obamacare, right? You know, people that said, I don't get sick. I'm 21. Why do I have to pay for insurance? I got that argument, which is why it should have been, you know, sort of a national thing across the board. That way there'd be no debate about it. But so you have the low risk groups being coerced into getting the vaccine as well. So now you're saying that me not getting the vaccine is putting people who weren't at risk of getting in the first place at risk. So now you're creating more potential victims than there were before. You know, it's kind of crazy. You know, again, hey, I'm no scientist. I may have this completely wrong, but I'm not really making any claims necessarily for or against the vaccine. Just that the whole pandemic situation, again, has raised a lot of flags for a lot of people. And again, this is something that's going to be discussed for a very long time.
Well, you had people like Roland Martin who were condemning people, saying, you know, Busta Rhymes said, I ain't ever going to take the vaccine. Then you had that whole thing with Roland Martin saying, you don't know nothing. You ain't no scientist. Follow the science. You ain't no scientist. You shouldn't be telling anybody nothing. But then, are you Roland Martin, are you a scientist?
Right.
What do you actually know to be condemning somebody else? If you're not a scientist, you know, yourself, then that is an oxymoron. That is that's hypocritical right there, that you express an opinion when you're not a scientist.
Yeah.
You know, you got a lot of people saying, you know, follow the science, but there are scientists within that field who have expressed concerns at an alarming rate, but people have taken sides. And then it becomes an ego thing of, well, did I back the right horse?
Right.
You know, I started out saying no vaccine, you know, or, you know, everybody should get vaccine, and should I back down now? And it becomes this, you know, this argument of egos rather than, you know,
the issues itself.
The issue itself. Now the point is, at the end of the day, those of us who live in so-called free countries, what's made them free countries is the right to choose. this country, United States, is a republic, which means I can choose not to go with the majority. As long as I'm not encroaching on anybody else's livelihood or their property, I can basically do what I want to do, right? And this is why the Supreme Court has overturned the laws that they were trying to bring out, because you're taking away people's right to choose, especially with something, if in Texas, in the Supreme Court of Texas, or in that circuit, sorry, not Supreme Court of Texas, but the federal Supreme Court in the Texas circuit basically said somebody who does not trust the vaccine, it's within their rights not to trust it. Something that hasn't been around for long enough for them to know that it's really safe for them to take it. Because all those people who have died, what do you say to their people who have taken it? Now, I understand people who have died from coronavirus or COVID-19, they can, their people can say, well, I'm taking the vaccine because I seen a loved one die and whatever, so I'm all for it. I want to make sure everyone's protected. They've bought into that narrative that the vaccine is going to protect them. But right now with Omicron, according to what I've read and what I've seen, and the reports coming from Israel and all other Cambridge and other medical institutions, renowned, well-known medical institutions, is that Omicron, the amount of people hospitalized, there's a higher rate of hospitalization and infection among the vaccinated, a higher rate than those who are not vaccinated. And by rate, we're not talking about the number of people, we're talking about the rate. The rate, because some people have come with the argument, well, there's more people vaccinated than there isn't. But when you're dealing with rates, you're not dealing with the actual, 10 people who are unvaccinated have Omicron, but 1,000 people who are vaccinated. No, we're talking about the rates, not the actual number. So, that's an argument that people are trying to raise. And I think that must be UPS outside that Tommy's trying to call me.
You lock the door?
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, so, there we have it. We're dealing with a situation where we've had to, we're watching tennis. We're sitting on the sidelines watching politicians play this whole thing out, where we the people have been under the duress, under the thumb to our employers. Right now, even though the government has reversed its mandates, there are still private institutions who still require and are mandating their employees to get the vaccine. And those are lawsuits waiting to happen. Once the Supreme Court has set a precedent, all those people who have had to take the vaccine because of their job, especially those people who have suffered with adverse effects or events or whatever, they can take their jobs to court now.
Yeah.
Even the people who were coerced into it, I know people personally who are young, under the age of 30, who suffer with myocarditis right now.
Can those companies take the government to court? Because they could argue that they lost a lot of good people because of those mandates. Because there are people that refuse to take it and had to relocate, or, again, they lost livelihoods or being forced to work from home, which had an effect on a whole bunch, a cascade of issues. So again, we could be litigating this for decades, as, they litigate things for decades now. You get lawsuits, hey, did you take this drug in 1937? You could be entitled to so-and-so. Well, my granddad's dead, It could be one of those situations, right?
And I think it was the Latvian, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some head of state, because they're having the EU, there's EU meetings going on now, and some guy basically called out the French president, saying, look, you're a murderer. Murder is murder. You've forced people into taking the vaccine who did not want to take it. A lot of people have died. That's murder. Blood is on your hands. He called him out in the EU, in the European Parliament. Clean called him out. Now, is he going to be held responsible? Is he going to do jail time? If you or I did that, we had employees and we had something where we was like, well, you got to take this, and somebody died. Would we be criminally investigated? Probably. You know, so...
Yeah. So listen, folks, welcome for those that's joining. It's the Great Black Detox Wednesday Clinic. It's the show, it's the class, it's the open universe where you guys get to talk to us. If you have any questions, please raise your hand in the app. If you're on Zoom, scroll down to the bottom, hit the participation button and raise your hand. Let us know you have a question. We can let us know in the chat. I'm trying to monitor the chat as we go along. Well, there's nothing in the chat right now. If you're on the IG, if we get an opportunity, we can read Dr. Amsu's phone from over here. Or I'm following along as well. You can ask questions in there. In Dr. Amsu's bio, there's a link tree. Click on that.
You ain't reading that from here.
Why are you starting? In Dr. Amsu's bio, there's a link tree. Towards the bottom of that, there's a link that will take you straight into the Zoom, so you guys can interact. We can see you can see us, and you can ask questions, and we can have that conversation there. Also, for those on the YouTube, you can leave comments in the YouTube chat as well. So, Dr. Amsu, we've got a question. I think Marva. Can't see Marva. I was going to come to you earlier, Marva. We can't see you. I'm saying she. I'm assuming Marva's
Marva Zentz.
A young Caribbean lady.
All right, here we go. Hey, Marva.
Hi, good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
I was on last week. Why am I echoing? Yeah, I was on last week, and I had to get off at 6:25 to go to classes. My question was about the diabetic supplement.
Yes.
So you said that I should take a detox first. Which one should I take?
Wait. What do you mean by which one should you take first?
I'm taking the diabetic supplement. I said to you guys that I was losing muscle tone.
Okay.
And my numbers are going up.
Right.
Yeah, but I had to get off at 6:25.
Okay.
So
now you're saying which one should you take first, as opposed to what?
No, you guys said that I should do a detox first.
No. Do you remember last week? She's saying that she's having the muscle loss. Yeah.
All right. So do the detox while you're taking that supplement.
So which detox should I take? With it.
You can do the 14-day. Right?
Okay.
Either that, because I know a lot of people who are diabetic are afraid of fruits, right? Because they're thinking sugar.
Yeah.
Right. But that ain't really exactly the case. Even though it's being told that you should stay away from fruits. No, fruits have properties which help with inflammation. They have polyphenols and flavonoids, things that actually diminish inflammation, and it's inflammation which is that is the problem, right? So the reason why I would say to you to do the 14 is so that you now it's an anti-inflammatory detox that will help to get rid of toxins that are causing the inflammatory response, right? It will help with resetting your gut flora, what's responsible for digestion, right? And the way and will help with your metabolism. So do the 14, which will give you a nice reset, right? Which will give your body a nice reset. And then when you start eating again, it's important that you do not go back to old habits. It means that this is a fresh start for you to start eating what's right based upon the meal plans that we have, that you're eating the correct foods, that you're not inducing inflammation in your body. So while you're doing the 14, take your pancreatin at the same time.
Okay.
All right? And and what you do is as well, make sure you're exercising as well. Don't be sitting around not doing anything. Make sure you are active and you are exercising, so that you can start to pull from any fat reserves that you have in your body to feed muscle.
Okay, because I have the 30-day fruit fast, fruit detox that I
Okay.
haven't started as yet. Because, this time of the year in New York, we don't have
Right.
the variety of fruits.
Right. And I don't want you to go and get whatever's available, and then what's available is seedless and GMO.
Yeah, correct.
So,
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you, mother. Edwin, I see you next up. You look very comfortable,
What
man.
up, Edwin?
Edwin's at home. He's got the
Edwin's got his
hot water,
cushion.
hot water bottle. He's got the heated blanket.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
We're doing great, man. How you doing?
Good.
So I'm on day 12.
That's why you're smiling like that. The guy's just been smiling the whole time. Are you smiling because you feel so
glowing.
good because it's day 12, or because you only got 2 days left? Which one is it?
2 days left.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was taking the deep vein for the blood pressure. And I noticed that my blood pressure was dropping, so I stopped taking it, and because it was going below 100. So, like, I stopped taking it for a few days. So now my blood pressure is like around 117 over 90. So I wasn't sure, because that was part of my the treatment that I was doing for the kidney. You had prescribed the deep vein,
Right.
and the kidney Rex and like D3 and other stuff like that. So, and then you mentioned that I should be taking that while I'm doing the detox as well. So I was wondering, should I stop the deep vein?
No, I would not say to stop the deep vein, because you want to get rid of those particles and toxins that are within your blood vessels at the same time, right? While you're detoxing. So the deep vein is not going to, it's not responsible. It basically will, any kind of coagulation that's taking place in your blood vessels, it will stop that. If it's if it's beyond the threshold, it's there to equalize your blood or balance, your blood. It's not a blood thinner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's not a blood thinner. It basically deals with your blood vessels.
And my blood pressure is already regulated. Like, should I take? What's the purpose of it if my blood pressure is already?
Because all right. So you suffer with high blood pressure, right?
Yes.
Right. High blood pressure is caused by plaque and macrophages that harden in the cells, in the blood vessels, and cause breakages. It causes thinning and hardening. What deep vein is doing is cleaning that all up.
Okay.
So you stop taking it because your blood pressure has fallen. No, continue taking it, because it's not a blood thinner.
Okay.
Right? It's actually making your, imagine cars in a tunnel, right? That's your blood vessels is the tunnel. And there's something obstructing the tunnel, which is causing congestion, causing a what do you call it? Trailback, what do you call it? Like traffic. It's causing all kinds of traffic, right? You got something in there that's getting rid of the wreckage. Whatever's causing the blockage, it's removing that, right? That's what's going on in your blood vessels. You're clearing the train tracks. You're clearing the tunnel out so that your blood can flow more freely.
Because they told me that my blood pressure was high because of my kidneys, my polycystic.
And you're right. That also is a factor with kidneys, which is why I said to you, get the kidney RX. But with a lot of black people, our diet, especially, you know, what you were telling us you eat, right? And as with a lot of black people, we have terrible diets. We eat a lot of fast food with KFC in and McDonald's, Mickey D in it, and, you know, whatever. And we're not paying attention, and we are causing fat and sugar to be mixing in our blood vessels, and it, you know, and it affects our cells. Right? So what got your kidney to the point where you had polycystic kidneys is due to what you've been putting into your body and what your blood's been carrying to your kidneys.
Okay.
All right? So we want to repair, we're not like looking at one thing. We want to repair everything that's wrong in your body.
Okay. I had a question on the meal plan. There's certain things that you put to eliminate on your diet, like certain items, but I see it on some of the recipes in the book. So it was kind of like
all right. So there are things that we have where we've put stars next to them, right?
Right.
So if you see a star next to something, it's to do with estrogen content that it may cause a rise in estrogen levels in the body. So those are there for women who are suffering from estrogen dominance. So we'll have like, all right, remove this from your diet until you fix that, and then you can reincorporate, because there are, you know, nutritious properties within those foods that your body can make use of. So if you see something in a recipe that we've said that has a star beside it, it's because you can reincorporate it if you're not estrogen dominant.
Okay, so I can't remember the name of the item that I seen, but it didn't have a star next to it, but it was on the list to eliminate from our diet, but it was on the recipe. It didn't have no star in it, because some of them, like, okay, they have 1 star. That means you could incorporate it.
Okay, let us know, because that might be a typo on our part that we have to include the star.
Yeah, next time I highlight it again, but
yeah,
I forgot what it was, but yeah.
All right, okay. Yeah, send me an email, send me a screenshot or whatever.
Okay.
All right.
So Edwin, 12 days in, man, how you feeling generally?
I feel good. I think at day 8, 10, I think I was a little like dizzy. I think that's when when I checked my blood pressure, it was like 90 over something. I forgot.
Right.
But besides that, I've been okay. But I was a little bit dizzy on day 8 and 9.
Have you been working out, Edwin?
Yes, I have been working out, but not every day. Just like every other day, because sometimes I get like too tired, like especially like lifting weights and not eating is kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah, we tell people to, unless you do every day, bench press 200, 300, 400 pounds, you can reduce the weights down, but the weightlifting or the resistance training really does push the body to really pull from those toxic stores, pull from the adipose stores, right? And encourages, getting rid of that toxic fat. And it also releases all the endorphins, and it releases the hormones that your body needs to sort of energize yourself as well. Because if you're sedentary, it doesn't matter what you're eating. If you're sedentary, those things just don't get released. So it's good that you're doing a little bit of training. Right. Go hard next 2 days, man. You got 2 days left. You just dream about avocado and soup. What's today? Today's Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing exercise and you find that you're dizzy, right, take it easy. Okay. We're not boot camp. We're not boot camp like get down. That ain't the way. So if you find that, all right, everybody has a threshold. When we're fasting or detoxing, some things may affect us that may not, because remember your body's detoxing. When your body's detoxing, it can be unpredictable. So if right, I did this and I was dizzy. All right, don't do that again, or see if it happens again. And all right, while I'm doing this, I'm not going to do that. Especially if something that you would normally do, but you're finding that when I do it now, it's causing some event to take place. So you have to be your judge, because everyone's different. Not one size fits all with outcomes.
Okay. I mean, I feel okay when I run. Like if I do cardio, I'm okay. It's just when I'm lifting, I get a little dizzy. Like when I try to get up, or like if I'm bench pressing and I try to get up afterwards, like I'm
And
very
what are you
dizzy.
bench pressing? Are you doing like the 200, 300 pounds? What are you doing when you bench?
Well, I'm doing like maybe like 150 because I can't really bench that much because I don't have the strength. So I'm betting
Yeah,
like
just lower,
150.
lower the amount of weight so that you're actually you're going through the motion, you're doing the exercise, it's still resistance, but it might not be as strenuous. Because if you're saying you can't do that much, 150 is still a good, it's still a good weight. It's still a hearty weight, which if you find that you're straining to do it, or that, after 10, 15 reps, you feel that just lower the weight so that you're still exercising your chest and your triceps, but it's
But I
not.
noticed that, like when I was started dialysis, my energy did go away. Like, is that like the symptoms? I guess I don't know, but I noticed that like what I used to lift is not what I.
Well, and another thing, as you're getting older, right? And you're using an apparatus, and in that apparatus there are fluids that will, dilute, somewhat dilute your blood, and here's the thing: as you're getting older, you have to, what we call andropause, where your testosterone levels drop, right? And on dialysis, it can affect your serum testosterone levels, right? So, and that's what keeps us going. That's what gives us strength. That's what builds our muscles. It helps our muscles to be built, is the testosterone. So when that level drops, we'll become weaker, and not as, not having the stamina as well with certain things. So, these are, remember, you are on dialysis, so you have a legitimate reason for strength loss.
Okay.
So, and the goal is to get you off dialysis,
Right?
Where your kidneys are functional, and go through repair.
Okay. Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, they also put me on a transplant list. I don't know if that's something that I should consider.
I mean, as a last resort, if keep your options open. You don't have to be stringent in your mind. But the point of what we're doing, what you're doing with us, is trying to save your kidneys.
Right. Heal them over time. For whatever reason, Edwin, through probably no fault of your own, or maybe a little bit, but listen, we're not here to recriminate the past. Is if your kidney needs you need a new lifestyle. Again, the Dr. Amps was saying, to save your kidney. And it takes time. This is, you've started day one, 2-week detox. You're reducing the toxins and, changing your diet. You'll look back at this next year and think, wow, I'm a whole new person. But it does take time to transition. Remember, your body still thinks you're the old you. It just thinks you're asleep at the moment. So it's going to take time for it to condition itself and to know, okay, look, we're no longer going to get that much sodium. We're no longer going to get that much alcohol or that much carbs. It's going to reset itself, So, look, 2 weeks ago, if someone had said to you, you're not going to eat food for 2 weeks, what would you have said?
Are you crazy?
Right. You'd have chucked your kidney at them, So already it's changed, So I'm very encouraged. I'm sure we're both very encouraged at your progress. And you're smiling day 12. In fact, most people smile day 12, and I think it's right because they see 2 days left. So that's great. Listen, share your testimonials, man. Let us know. You downloaded the app, right? I think I saw you in the app. I'm not sure.
No, I haven't downloaded the app. I will download it. Is it like a meetup group or something like that? Or?
Well, it's a community app, but it's also the place where you get information directly from us. You get a lot of it's an accountability community. It really does, and a lot of people get a lot of benefit from that. In fact, if you just go on there and read some of the testimonials people share, it's not always about how much weight they lost or what ailment they've gotten over. It's really about being in a situation or being in a group where people are doing it with you, people like you. In fact, people maybe not like you that are doing it, so you don't feel as though you're on your own. and people are way more successful when they have that accountability. Okay, and you also sort of track your progress through there as well, just by, I guess, if you comment or not. And again, it's been really powerful. Again, I go on there all the time and read the comments. And we're expanding the app. You can get your badge. You've done the 14 now, so you're going to get I did the 14 badge, so you'll be a celebrity in the app. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll download the app.
Yeah.
I actually did blood work Wednesday, so hopefully my labs get better by doing the detox. So I'm hoping.
Excellent.
Cool. Yeah. Now, and here's another thing as well. Don't put pressure on yourself to see fantastic results. Some people see fantastic results, right? Mm-hmm. Straight away within the 14 days. They're like, oh my God, such and such. But that's not true for everybody. So don't, if there's been slight change or slight improvements, don't beat yourself up like, oh man, it just means that you're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
All right.
I did notice the weight loss. I lost, I think about 16 pounds so far.
That's great.
Okay. In the right places?
Yeah.
All right. Good. And remember, and this is the thing, is that adipose tissue, when it gets past a certain threshold, it works against us. So, things like your polycystic kidneys, and that is down to, adipose tissue and inflammatory cells that are initiated, and it's constant attack. There's a constant attack that goes on. It's not like, all right, let up. No, it's constant, and that's what wears down vital organs.
Yeah.
Okay. So is the kidney RX will be able to remove the cyst in the kidney?
Well, it's to repair the kidney. So yes, it's about those inflammatory cells that are attacking your kidney to attack them, while you're getting your renal cells are being repaired. So the cysts that are on there, that's one thing that you have growth, but it's what's going on with the functionality, the presence of those cysts and those those TNF alpha or those other interleukin, these T cells and whatever that's attacking you, that's causing that.
Okay.
And destroying your renal cells. So your kidney's under attack. It's basically being destroyed by the toxins, or the reaction to the toxins and the foods that you've been eating.
Okay.
Edwin, appreciate you coming on, my friend.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, man. Edwin. Take care. Okay, before we get to Laverne, there was a question came up in the chat, and I think it can maybe flow on from this. So from Jadem or Jadem, he was told that eating sweet potatoes and garlic isn't good for us. Why is that, Dr. MC?
All right, so garlic is good in certain aspects, right? If garlic attacks parasites. So if you have a parasitic infection, garlic is great for that. Garlic is, though, highly acidic, so it can create an acidic environment within where you need not an acidic environment, right? So if you don't have parasites, the consumption of garlic can be detrimental, and it's not like it's gonna kill you right then. It will cause an inflammatory response, especially within the gut, right? Now, if you have parasites in your gut, garlic can actually diffuse or neutralize those bad bacteria and whatever, or parasites, right? Sweet potato, it depends on the sweet potato. If it's a hybridized sweet potato, it may, because there are like Japanese sweet potatoes, purple sweet potatoes that are good, that don't necessarily do you any harm. They're actually good for you. You know, there are nutrients within sweet potatoes that are good, but it's the starchy, you know, the ones that are hybridized, that are high in starch and have less nutrient potential or less nutrition. So you're basically eating calories and starch, empty calories and high sugars, which you know, which are not good for you, that do initiate inflammation. I hope that helps.
Yeah. And I can't get a response because you go on the IG, but I hope Jadem or Jadem were able to answer your question there. So moving back over to the Zoom, Miss Levan.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Levan, how you doing?
Hi, Levant.
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good.
So I'm back again with the same. Okay, I've tried to find watermelon with seed, and even online, and I'm getting a hard time. It's like I have 2 more days, and I need to.
I mean, remember, watermelons are seasonal, so we're off season right now. That's why you ain't finding it.
Exactly. So what am I going to do?
Use
Wait, are you on day 12?
Yes, I
if
am.
there are honeydew or what's the other one? Cantaloupe.
So so in the reassimilation that you have,
And
okay.
Also do kiwi as well. Kiwi.
Okay. So here is the first day. It says half small watermelon, half small cantaloupe. It has both of them for breakfast.
Right.
Okay, so it's either or both I'm supposed to use.
No, all right. So if it's not available, make do with what you have.
Definitely I can get cantaloupe.
Right. Make do with what you have. Because we say to you, all right, in the book, here's what you need, right? Here's what you eat today. You can choose any day to start reassimilation. We've given you 4 days of reassimilation. You can eat from any of those days. You can repeat. You don't have to have the variety. We've given variety because that's the spice of life. Mm-hmm. But doesn't mean that, right, I have to follow this by the T. We would love for everybody to do that for your own pleasure as well. When you're eating, you have a variety of dishes. But if you can't find watermelon, don't panic.
Okay.
You know, and you can mix it up. What's on each of those 4 days, you can mix them up. You can eat the same thing every 4 days if you have to.
Okay, I see. Because I was just thinking it's 4 days of reassimilation, right?
Right.
Okay, so I was thinking that each day, you know, I was going by the plan. Each day, this is what you eat. Because before I actually started, you know, with you guys and, you know, listening to you and following your dietary plan and so forth, I know that there was another doctor that I listened to, and he said that when you were fasting or you get ready to go on a fast, that you should, you know, gradually ease your body into a fast, not just like abruptly go into a fast. Like, for instance, how we are on the liquid fast. It's like, because, you know, you're going from solid to liquid, you shouldn't do it like just abruptly. So, and also he talked about the same thing, but he did give some, you know, things that you should eat when you reassimilate it, when you're coming off of that fast into eating again. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to just, you know, go with the salads and the stuff that is here, rather than, like you said, I can do any day. Because one of the day has like a full, I think day 4, when I look at it, if I'm not mistaken, has like a full, more heavier meal, in my opinion. Day 4 has more like solid food, so to speak, if I'm right. Okay, so that's why I was concerned that I need to follow that, you know, my stomach, because I wasn't eating anything, just to make sure that I followed that.
Well, the foods that we've given you in the reassimilation, they are more water based, and more greens and leafy greens and that, and
Yes.
so soups,
the
stews,
bok
that kind of
choy,
stuff,
then
right? So whatever you eat first is whatever you eat first. We've just given you variety.
Okay, all right. So I know. Okay, cantaloupe is that's indeed
Right.
high in water. Okay, so that's good because the same thing you said. They're like, I call around, I check, I went online. It's like watermelon is not in season right now. It's like, okay,
Right.
and what I can find is the seedless everywhere. We have seedless. We have seedless. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Okay, well, that was my question because I was just concerned like 2 days from now, I have to be eating something.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you, Devon.
You're welcome.
Tanika had a camera on there. She went. Oh, she is there. She's back.
Here I am.
How you doing?
Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing great. Did you get
Awesome.
did you get the response for the email? You sent us an email. Did you get my response?
Yes, and I started the process and then I got distracted, like doing stuff.
Tanika, how you get distracted? It takes like 3 to 5 minutes.
I ordered the Neuroplex. The Neuroplex is the way.
Because you're easily distracted.
Yeah, mom life makes it easy for that to happen.
Right.
And Tanya recommended getting puzzles. So I got a puzzle. I don't know if she's on this call or not, but
Tanya's on.
For sharing that idea. My granny used to do puzzles and crossword puzzles like all the time, and she was very sharp. So thank you for that suggestion. So my question is, you mentioned that it's not recommended to do juicing unless it's for a specific condition. Why is that? And what are some of those conditions that juicing can address?
Okay, well, you can juicing of vegetables is all right, right?
Okay.
But blending of fruits, because we want to keep all the fiber from the fruits. We don't want to remove, because when you're dealing with fruits and you juice, you're basically removing the fiber and the pulp where a majority of the nutrients are, and in the juice you're basically sugar water. All right.
Okay.
So blend fruit. You can juice certain vegetables, right? Because in vegetables, it's less likely to be sugary.
Okay.
All right. So it's not like for this condition, juice an apple, and for this one, use the pulp. No. We want within the pulp of fruit is where the nutrients lie.
Okay. And then the other question, you talked about garlic being good if you have parasites. What are some indicators that you have like parasites? Or how can, like, is that something that can be screened, or I hear that?
Yeah, I mean, if you go and you get screened for parasites, like you believe you have, you can be screened to see if you have like candida, if you have any other type of worms or anything like that. What our indications are, if you're lethargic, if you're tired, even you might have a good diet, and you bloat, and you have you have cramps. Even if you're not on your days, you're feeling cramps and stuff like that. Chances are, and you're getting rashes. You break out, and that there are indications for parasitic infections. So there are ways to screen, and I'm not sure of all the techniques that are used, but there are techniques that are used to ascertain what type of parasitic infection somebody may actually have, maybe more than one.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. I wanted to shout out Edwin too. I'm very it always warms my heart when I see people like getting ahead of the curve with these conditions before they spiral out of control. Because I just lost my brother, and he was like a super health conscious person, but there was some meds that he was taking that contributed to his condition, and by the time it was screened for, it was too late. So Edwin, shouts out to you. I'm excited for your progress report and your testimony.
If you don't mind sharing, Tanika, what were the meds your brother was on, and for what condition was the meds prescribed for?
Yeah, so my brother had a skin condition called pleva, and he got prescribed essentially some steroids, and I think one of those meds is called uromycin or something like that.
Okay.
And his liver and blood levels were supposed to be monitored while he was on that, and they weren't. So,
can you spell that skin condition? You said pleba.
It's an acronym. It stands for something. PLEVA.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he ended up developing multiple myeloma and liver failure.
And that was from the medication.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and this is a thing with a lot of medications that are prescribed. They don't tell you, so you don't really have informed consent. Like, here, take this. This works for this condition, and the informing is the major part of that informed consent. Is like, what am I taking here? What are the risks? And then, after death and whatever, now, families coming at these companies, then there's a class action because there's so many families coming at them. And then you get the commercial on TV. If you suffered from pleva and one of your loved ones suffered, liver failure, you could be entitled to compensation or to a cash, some cash compensation or whatever. But it's too late, and this is why we do what we do. Is it's about those side effects, these adverse effects that science has produced, right? Because big pharma, that's science. They have scientists who test these things in laboratories, and it's good for you. It's advanced science and whatever. It's on the market, which means the FDA approved it. But when you have deaths from that situation, it's like, all right, who's accountable?
Something Dr. MC said as well, and we've brought this up. Some of these medications are for diseases that aren't life-threatening necessarily. They are lifestyle inhibiting. They create a nuisance, right? They create discomfort, and it's difficult for some people to live with those symptoms, especially skin conditions that are irritated by clothing, sun, sweat. It's very difficult for those people. So they come up with these drugs which typically try to alleviate the symptoms or deal with the pain or the discomfort. But the side effects of those drugs are actually more deadly than the condition. Because, and I'm saying this because I was just reading this, and I remember, we were talking about the plaque psoriasis thing, right? And some of the drugs are side effects of plaque psoriasis, right? Suicidal thoughts and death and stuff like that. But you won't die from plaque psoriasis. You can use discomfort. But they're saying that these tend to go away over time. Now, it can be sped up with steroids, right? And other anti-inflammatory drugs. But those side effects of those drugs, which are there to help alleviate the symptoms, are the ones that are causing or can potentially cause more serious side effects. So it's a really, Dr. Hamsi, we talk about it's a really difficult situation, especially if you're suffering from that and you have the pain, and then the doctor gives you an out. Right? Hey, listen, look, I know it's the great discomfort, but they have this new treatment that helps with the pain, and people that take this treatment, the condition, it goes from 18 months down to 6 months, whatever. And if you're suffering from that, and depending on your age, you're likely to go with what the doctor says, right? And this is what we're finding. And of course, as everyone on this call probably knows, they're not, of course, showing you what the alternatives may be, right? In terms of nutrition. they're not looking for the root cause for this condition. It's not your fault. This thing has come about. I don't think it's contagious, but you've contracted it from somewhere. Don't worry, we can help you fix it. They tend not to look at the root cause. Either they don't know, like I said, Dr. Amsley, they're not endocrinologists, they're not metabolic specialists. They prescribe these medications. So it's really unfortunate. Tanika.
Now, was it a dermatologist that he saw who put him onto this?
I believe it started with primary care, and then he was sent to the specialty doctor, which most likely was the dermatologist. But I'm not 100%.
So
sure.
All right, let's just assume that he was, right? So a dermatologist, how much do dermatologists know about the liver? And especially when they're prescribing medication. That now, let me ask you something else. And this is not a medical question. This is like a moral question. Are you guys suing?
I don't. We haven't gotten that far yet. His funeral is on Monday, so.
Which is very.
Yeah.
So and here's what I'm talking about with accountability, is that his death was the result of medication that somebody said, "Here, what? Take this to help that," and it basically took his life, right? They should be held accountable, and us as black people, we tend to roll over, like not hold the so-called authorities accountable for their advice or their recommendations. He was prescribed something. That doctor who prescribed him that, at the very least, there should be some points taken off his accreditation or something. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He might not do jail time, but they have insurance, and they have insurance for this very reason. So tap into the insurance. Not to say that money is going to replace your brother, but all costs of his funerals and all that stuff, that's on you guys. You understand what I'm saying? And if he's got any children as well, or any loved ones, any dependents,
Absolutely.
and these people have to be held accountable, because they're literally getting away with murder. And that's the same thing with medical accident.
absolutely
Medical
agree.
accident kills more people than anything else in the world. More than any condition, medical accident is the number one killer of people in the United States. It's more prevalent than gun violence. Number one cause of death in the United States is medical accident.
Well, listen, Tanika, it's really unfortunate what you shared with us, and condolences to you and your family. I know it's still very raw. The funeral's just next week. So listen, take care of your family. We don't want people overtly affected from this. I'm sure they are, but take care of your family, the young ones, or your parents, and get through this. The litigations, we'll get to. But it's deeply unfortunate, and I'm gonna rather poignant that you're on this planet, and you come on here quite a bit, Tanika, and you're someone that's actually actively looking for solutions, looking for alternatives, and it's really sad, and it comes so close to home. So we'll pray for you and your family as best we can, and let us know how that goes, what sort of results in that. But something someone told me is that do your research, get your evidence, get a lawyer, and really, because they will close ranks around you and around that situation, of course, right? So you need to do the same. But again, first of all, condolences, go and look after your family, and I'm sure we'll sync up with you again afterwards. Tanya, how are you, Tanya?
Hi.
Tanya, you're looking younger every time we see you on this call.
Yeah, you're
There's
glowing.
new hairstyles and different shades of lipstick.
Glowing, she's pregnant.
Is that what it is? I'm sure one day the background fizzled out, and I saw this kind of Chippendale dude standing behind you.
What do you call it? So yeah, first of all, my condolences to you and your family. I lost a brother, so I know that feeling. And I'll be praying for you guys. But what am I talking about? Medical malpractice. Oh, I know you guys are not in the dental area, but how do we know, as people trying not to get all that stuff in our mouth and stuff, is there like any herbal dentist or something? Because I just watched a documentary on how many scams that are going on especially when you got that crappy insurance. They bill them and milk them dry. They tell your kids to come in and they give them every filling known to man, and they didn't really need them, or every root canal, they didn't really need them. So now I'm feeling a little bit kind of crazy about my doctor right now. Remember I told you I took the amoxicillin, and I was not happy with that because now my stomach's back to square one. But the ginger, all that stuff you told me has been helping, so that's good. But I have to have an oral surgeon do something with this impacted tooth, and I'm like, it doesn't hurt. Why do I need to remove it if it doesn't hurt? And then they're giving me some logic about why, because it's near a nerve, and it's and I was like, yeah, but it's not hurting. Why would I need someone to go cut my gums open and take it out? It doesn't make sense. So am I crazy, or I don't know what to do at this point, because I'm out of consults with dentists. And the other lady who I do sort of semi-trust, she's $6,000.
Wow, that's a lot of money. So the dental game, the tooth game, it's a big game, man. It's a hustle for some people, but there are a lot of really great dentists. I know a few of them actually personally. A lot of great dentists out there, and a lot of them trained in Cuba, and in Dominican Republic, and Mexico, and India. Believe it or not, we don't necessarily have the best dental health care. We've got a lot of the best facilities in America, but some of the best dentists in the world are in other countries. But anyway, to go back to what you said, so of course we can't diagnose what's going on, and of course you have to get a diagnosis. And if they've said that there's some condition there that they've seen that some kind of extraction or intervention would be necessary, then I guess to some degree we have to go with that. Your other part of the first question was, are there alternatives? And I recall just a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, this conversation came up and we were talking about alternative dentists, and I believe there's a couple of websites that you can go to to find holistic / alternative dentists. I think holisticdental.org was one of them. I think Dr. Keela's on. She may have one. There was someone else shared on it, and I thought I had it on here. I may have deleted it, but before the end of this call, I'm sure someone's going to remind us and put it in there. But there's some websites you can go to and find alternative dentists that do all the same diagnostics, but then offer you alternative treatments as to how you can deal with that issue. Because, pain, of course, is the number one indication that there's something wrong. But of course, they can also go in and see something in an x-ray and say, okay, look, you've got a tooth growing the wrong way. Look, we need to take that out. Otherwise, it's going to impact you here. It just happened to my brother out in Dubai. He had to have major surgery because they found a tooth growing literally horizontally in his gum,
That's what I have. It's not in my gum, but it in the x-ray it shows, but it doesn't hurt at all. I'm like, why would you?
So, and they will advise you, hey, listen, you can leave it and wait till it hurts. But they may say, well, listen, there's a nerve wrapping around it. And if it moves, half a centimeter that way, it's going to do this. So honestly, with dental work, get that diagnosis. Then I would look at that website and try and find a holistic dentist near you that can maybe offer you some alternatives. But unfortunately, it's one of the areas of the human anatomy that once certain conditions arise, it calls for drastic measures. It's just the way, human beings are imperfect.
Right.
Yes, there are probably situations and environments we could live in where we'd have less of those ailments, but I'm not sure if there's, I know there are cultures where they fare really well with their teeth, and it's probably because they're eating less toxins, less sugars, and so on and so forth. So they eat more natural food, so they have less impact on their teeth, and they clean their teeth. Like, where I'm from, they spend all morning, brushing their teeth with those eucalyptus twigs, whatever. They have the best teeth I've ever seen and best gums, and they don't use fluoride toothpaste, So I would do that. Take that diagnostic. Did they give you the X-ray in the folder?
Yeah, and I had 2 opinions already. It's just that, I told you I have a heart murmur that I was born with.
Right.
So that's my only little catch is you better do it, because if you don't,
heart condition. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't have the pain anymore. Remember when I had the severe pain?
I remember, and it was you that came up on my sheet because you were talking about it last time as well. Yeah, after Tanya.
It went away, but I know I can't rely on it went away. I have to really follow through. So
well, Tanya, honestly,
was it the same tooth that was causing that pain?
It's actually, no, it wasn't the one they pulled. It was the one behind it. And he told me the one in front of it would be the one hurting. So I was like, dude, you guys are confusing me right now. Yeah. So I think it was something I must have irritated. I don't know, but it's gone. But because of the heart murmur, I can't just, my friend said she knew her doctor ignored the pain after it went away after the amoxicillin. And he had a heart murmur like me, and he ended up dying of a heart attack.
If you have a heart murmur, then you absolutely want to get that dental situation taken care of.
Yeah.
Again, honestly, Tanya, you've actually done the right thing. Check out that website. And I've got no idea how much they charge or anything like that. We don't.
I'm sure it's no more than they do here in Bedford.
Well, it's just
$6,000. Mikey gets a kickback. Don't listen to him. He's gonna get a kickback.
It's not called kickback. We don't use that term in the industry.
There's some payola going on.
Yeah, I get luncheon vouchers, EBT tokens. But no, you're doing the right thing. Take that diagnosis and the X-ray, and check out the website. Let us know, because I'm not sure if someone looked. There might be someone in the IG sharing it now.
I'll check it out.
We'll put it in the chat. But there's a couple of websites, holistic dentists, where you can take your diagnosis and get a third opinion, I guess.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I can't stand the whole thing, but thank you so
much. No problem, Tanya. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. All right, so I thought I did. No, we didn't have a question in the IG. I thought there was one in the IG. So listen, guys, if you guys got any questions, raise your hands in the chat.
Able to knock off nice and early today, mate.
Yeah. Until Ruth comes on at 6:52. I know she's on here. She's going to start laughing in a minute. There was a question from someone in the Zoom that I wanted to come on, and I think it was a young fella, a young chap. If you ask the question in the chat, so I've got to scroll all the way back up here. Dr. Savy, flavor, no. Michael Donovan says no. All right, if you ask the question in the chat, I wonder if he left a call. Didn't we have a question in the chat from a gentleman? Okay, I'm going to ask a question about the sweet potatoes. Okay. Maybe that's been deleted. Okay, someone's asking about a documentary. Was that Drea? Which documentary? Were you talking about a documentary, Dr. Amsey?
Remind me, Drea.
Miss Hall.
The dental documentary.
No, it's not a dental documentary. There's a one or at least a few websites that deal with where holistic dentists. Tanya mentioned a documentary. Yeah. Oh, it was Tanya.
Oh, Tanya, you mentioned a documentary.
Documentary?
About dentists?
About the dental work.
About the scam.
Oh, no, the documentary was about food. Sorry. That wasn't, I don't know what my brain is.
Oh, you were talking about there's a lot of scams out there and all that. Was there a documentary about the scam in?
I'm sorry. I did say. See what I'm saying? My brain.
Don't worry, I got you.
I thought I had it under control, Tamika, but apparently something's not working. No, that was what was the documentary on? The dentist. It was called. I'll find it, and when I come back in next week, I'll have it.
Okay, thank you.
I can't think of it right this minute, but it is all about dentistry, and it is mind blowing. All the new pop-up centers that are popping up, especially in the poor areas.
What platform did you watch it on? Was it on Netflix?
It was on. It probably was on Netflix, but I watched it through YouTube because I watch everything. It's easier for me. It's just easy and free. So that's why I watch it. Free. I'm not paying for it, but I'll get it. But it just. I don't think there's that many on teeth, but this was really, really amazing. I mean, they had doctors, other dentists, nurses who were assistants. They're the ones blowing the whistle.
Right.
So they were saying, I built the patient, and I know the patient didn't need that work. Like kids, poor kids. So I will find it, and I promised you I'll get it back to one of you. And then even if I'm not here next week, someone will be able to tell you what it is, because it was good.
And that's the scary thing with the whole allopathic medicine, is that there are a lot of surgery, a lot of treatment that are very expensive, that are unnecessary, a lot of surgical procedures, and that leave us without organs, and that has an impact on our whole the whole way our body communicates and functions, and they're unnecessary. They're just lining somebody's pocket, and black people, we have our 501c3 electric health, right? And the reason for Electric Health is to address these very things about medical practices. Things that whenever there's an institution, as black people, we think that we're too small to deal with it. I'm just one person, and they, it's like they took the piss out of me, right? They took advantage of me, but we let them get away with it. Mm-hmm. We don't have any kind of, there's no recourse. We don't, if something's happening within our communities, we run our mouths all about that. We'll tackle our peers and whatever. But when there are institutions, or even, it might not even be an institution, it might be just a company, one company that, has bad practices, we won't hold them accountable. We're not going to take them to court. We won't have any kind of action against these people. So, what we're doing is we're giving our people the information, the education to not only deal with their health, but to also address the malpractice that's going on throughout the world, and especially here in the United States. Black women are, because black men don't like to go see any kind of doctors or any specialists or anything like that. We take our chance with time. It's like, I'm gonna wait for it to hurt. My immediate instinct with the dentist stuff, it doesn't hurt. I'm like, let me wait till it hurts. Maybe I can stack some money till when it hurts. You see what I'm saying? But black women go, you go, as women from a young age, because you have your periods, it's almost habitual. It's ritualistic to go and see a doctor when something does not feel right? And you're taken advantage of. And the whole thing about black women in the United States, like we talk all the time about the obesity problem of black women, but it's not all your fault. It's not, black women are not obese due to gluttony. It's not that you're sitting around stuffing your faces all day, right? It's that you are eating substances or ingesting substances that you have no idea. You're just going about your normal day doing the average thing, but you're under attack and you don't even know it. And these conditions start to rear their heads when you hit 25, 30, 35. You get inundated with all these conditions like, what's happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And you have no clue. And it's not because you're greedy. It's because, there's a war, a silent war going on that you have no idea that it's going on. Whether it's, Planned Parenthood, the eugenicists, all these, and I don't want to be no conspiracy theorist, right? But there is proof out there of, systems that are against us as black people, but especially on black women, that you guys have no idea. And you're just, unwitting victims to these people, and to scientists, to science. You're guinea pigs, and you don't even know it. You're cash cows, literally cash cows to the industry. But anyway, we have another question. Let me get off the soapbox.
No, it's a great point. And one day we'll probably do that on our other podcast, talk about the sterilization and eugenic programs around the world and even here in the United States. So it's a very worthwhile discussion and leads to a lot of what we've been saying generally as to why we do what we do. Because a lot of people don't believe a lot of the premise behind what we say. You got to show them the evidence, and it's just unfortunate, but it is what it is.
They
and
experiment, they put black women onto certain medication to see what happens. Yeah. Let's see what happens when she takes this for the next 6 months.
Well, there have been several exposed. So they're not conspiracy theories anymore. They're conspiracy fact.
Right.
So for those, and again, we can review those. Drea, I know you got warmed up on the mic, so you want to come and drop some bars How can we help you today?
I just wanted to know how come I have so I have skin tags, and I know my dad had them, and he used to put like a banana peel on it and it would fall off. But I'm noticing I had some removed on my face, and I'm noticing like a couple years, I would say it's been about maybe 5 years, I'm seeing small little ones on my face and on my like neck area. So I'm wondering if I could get a supplement, or what can I do for they're like small. They're not like big.
What did you call them, Dre? Skin
tags.
Skin tags.
Oh, they're like moles, right?
I wouldn't say they're moles, but I mean, I have them on my face a lot, but I would say on my chest, it doesn't look like a mole to me.
Right, they are like moles.
And I don't know if it's like I used to.
They're like the hanging moles.
Right,
kind of,
yeah.
Okay.
And we'll have to look into it, because that's not something that I'm any kind of, I will not profess to be any kind of expert in it, but we do have Derma-In, a supplement called Derma-In, which is for skin, right? And Derma Out, and we have something called Fountain as well. But I will look into skin tags, because they're not every skin condition is the same, as you know, right? Not everything has the same pathogenesis. So I'll have to look into it to see what causes it. And what usually prompts me to create a formula for something is the amount of times I hear it. You know,
but they're very common in black people, though. But
right,
it's one of those things that, you know, they put them down to like they're like freckles. You know, my gran had it. You know, my uncle has it. So yeah, it's kind of cute. You know, and it's one of those conditions I'm pretty certain that far more people have it than report that they have it or bring it up, and they often show up. I was just reading where, you know, other skin or clothing rubs the skin, so they're usually, you know, visible. So people tend not to talk about them because they, you know, it's like taboo to discuss these things, right? And the ones that aren't visible, no one's going to talk about it because it's taboo and nobody wants to bring it up. So, you know, maybe something we probably run some stats on it to see how, but it's, you know, affects men and women equally apparently. So yeah.
Right, and you said you had them removed. How did you have them removed?
They use ice probably.
Was it frozen?
No, it wasn't frozen. I would say they just used my esthetician. She just used a machine, and it kind of like zapped it. It was heat, and they
laser probably.
Laser, right? Okay, but you're saying they're growing back.
To me, I see little small ones now, but I remember my dad had them, and his were like, I would say larger than mine. Mine are very small, like even on my chest, I've noticed them lately, and they're very, very small, very flat. They're not as big as they used to be. Like I used to have one as a kid, and I would twirl it, and it grew, and that's why I actually had it removed, and I had a couple more removed.
Right.
It's closest to warts in this.
Yeah.
But I do take Fountain.
Okay. But we have Derma-In, but I may need a whole different formula, and I'm not sure if so. Akila, just to bring Akila in, just in case if you have any research on that, Akila. Keela. Or did you have something totally different that you wanted to talk about?
Different but similar. I was writing you all a message. Not all, but some skin tags are associated with chronic hyperglycemia. Okay. Just like that velvety look that a lot of Black people would get on their cheeks and in the folds of their neck.
Right.
And, sometimes they get those alarm signs first. And usually that's a clue to get your blood sugar checked. Because in quite a few Black women I have seen, when I was in school, we would see skin tags, but they had no diagnosis and no workup for being pre-diabetic or diabetic. And when you ask them, does anybody else in your family line have this? And usually it was a grandmother who may have had 5 children and developed diabetes during a pregnancy that never seemed to resolve, or a father who, with age and, time, developed these skin features years before frank, difficult to correct blood sugar. So, especially if you've in the past indulged in a lot of processed foods and have had children, at least, multiples even, or had one baby and that baby was in the 8-pound range or greater, the likelihood of gestational diabetes usually clears up, but some people it hangs around long and it becomes something that is frank diabetes mellitus type 2. You might want to get that checked out with your primary care doctor.
Yeah.
The question I had when you were the first topic you spoke about, just today again, we were harassed by a doctor about not being vaccinated. And what I recognize is 2 things. One, the kind of information the general public is privy to is not the same information that medical people are privy to, which is not the same information that military people are privy to. And what I have found is that among people who have served in the military at higher levels, they are not quick to get anything put in their body.
Right.
Because they understand problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic.
And you know what, Keela, it's funny because we had 3 naval ex-naval and were they Marines? Or they were naval.
Marines. We had Marines, Navy,
Navy, and they were ranked officers, and they were like, listen, the amount of what's going on right now, if we can't even tell you. We can't even tell you what's going on. But if we were to tell you, you wouldn't believe what is actually going on. So, the paranoia that we are accused of and stuff, these guys are like, well, if you know what we knew, that is not paranoia. Whether your spirit is telling you, son. As Black people, we spooky like that. It's like, nah, something ain't right. And then we're being told follow the science, but then military guys are like, don't do it. Don't do it. We ain't doing it.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, like with me, I have a lot of retired military people in my family. So the way you grow up thinking is a little different than the general pop.
Right.
And even the way you'll be in a public situation, and one of the things I noticed about all my relatives who had been in Air Force or in Navy is even in public venues, they never sat with their backs to the window or to the door. They always made sure they had a panoramic vantage point. And I get it, because once you are aware of what's really out there and all the things that can happen, all the permutations of things that can happen, the way you assess your environment and the people in it is very different. And what I recognize is when we're young in school, we are kind of indoctrinated to be overly trusting of anybody with a uniform or a badge or letters
or a white coat.
Or a white coat.
Right.
And it's not until you go through nursing school or medical school or pharmacy school or you go to law school that you recognize that some people, they really know their stuff because they have to really work that information into their brains, into their marrow. And some people just got through on their network.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm coming to find out is, okay, so when I learned immunology, I learned it in graduate school and I learned it in medical school. And what was consistent was the whole immune system is a tactical surveillance, reconnaissance, defense, and offensive system. So it was no wonder why, like when I had teachers, my teachers for immunology were all Chinese, military trained people.
Right.
So what I recognize is their approach to explaining immunology was from a military tactical point of view.
Right.
So the thing is, unless you grew up in a military household, you didn't pick up on it.
Right.
So what I recognize is when things came out last year and the year before last, couple things are like, I'm not so sure about that. Like for instance, when we're introduced to new microbes, we have a whole system of surveillance cells, antigen presenting all over our body.
Reconnaissance.
Yeah. Reconnaissance. They do reconnaissance. They do surveillance, and so others do reconnaissance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they will chop shop an invader.
Right.
They go to the T cell and say, T cell, does this look familiar to you? Do you remember this from basic training? And if the T cell says, yeah, we saw something like that before, but let's look through our library to see how we handled that before. If it's something brand new, you get a whole different cascade being set off.
Right.
Which the primary cascade of T cell activation, and then that goes into activation of cytotoxic C cells, activation of NK cells, activation of B cells that transform. They do rapid maturation into plasma cells, and those plasma cells reshuffle their genome. They have a permutated genome of only a few sets of genes that they can shuffle them to transform them into many different type of proteins that can recognize the nose, the eyes, the ears of the invader. So it doesn't matter how the invader comes at you, what variant, your immune system will recognize it on the second go around and attack it with even more fervor and more ferociously. Now, what got me was when I was listening to everything that was being put out, I was like, wait a minute. I went to graduate school and medical school for this. This does not jive with what we learned.
Right.
So are they not telling everything, or are they only telling selective parts for a selective purpose?
Right. You know, and that's the whole situation of there's a spike protein that is recognizable, right? One spike protein, the S protein, right? That's not the whole story. So that's the whole thing about natural. If you have the infection and you produce antibodies without being vaccinated, you are better off against variants than if you've just had the vaccine. Right? If you've had the vaccine, you have an antibody for that particular spike protein, right? So, and this is the information that's coming out now, more so. All the institutions are now saying about, the boosters are useless. The boosters don't make any kind of sense. Of these vaccines. Natural immunity. If anybody that's gotten over this whole situation with natural immunity, they are better protected than any form of the vaccine.
And it make you feel, going through it, if you're not asthmatic, you will feel so asthmatic, so terribly asthmatic. But that's the time, if you're not already mostly eating plants, you really, really, really have to switch everything to plants and kill the starch and kill the animal product, because the starch, when it's metabolized, increases acid levels in the blood and therefore the tissues. And when you're eating animal protein, myoglobin, when broken down, breaks down into amino acids. It taxes your kidney, taxes your liver. So you're doing too much work instead of focusing your entire effort with laser focus onto one goal, which is beefing up your immune system. Now, the other piece is fear. If you can make people afraid for long enough time, they will kill their own immune system, because cortisol, through the flight, fight response, reshapes how the whole immune system functions. It stays generalized instead of being very tailored and specific to the invaders. So you don't make the antibody when you're chronically afraid, chronically stressed, chronically experiencing racism. You do have a depressed immune system. So adding fear and paranoia on top of it, you kill yourself. Nobody really has to do anything to you.
Right.
Because you're not making antibodies you need. You're not activating. Even the NK cells are active. They're not attacking the invader like they need to. They're not responding properly. Their T cells population does not shift properly when cortisol is high. And the cortisol and epinephrine receptors get downregulated if you're under constant stress. So you get a weak immune response when you're under constant stress, constant worry, constant fear. But if you take away that fear, if you just decide, I am tired of being afraid, and saying 2 tears in a bucket, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not being afraid, it changes your whole endocrine system, which changes your whole immune system. And then when you add the plant polyphenols, like what Dr. Sue has, it bolsters it, and it shapes how your immune system gears up, recruits, and responds to an invader. That's it.
Excellent. So there we have it. You know, and it's good that you brought up the whole thing about the military, because me and Mikey, we had a meeting here a few weeks ago, and there was, like, again, 3 military officers here, and sidetrack about the UFOs. Like, they see some shit out there, and it's like, you didn't see that. The captain will come, and admirals will say, you did not see that. And they obviously they signed this. They signed the NDAs and all that kind of stuff. They cannot. They when you belong to the military, you can't. Everything's classified. Everything's classified. So what they were saying. All we can say to you is, don't take the vaccine. That's all we can say. Don't do it. And the thing is, 2 of them knew each other. There was one guy who didn't know the other 2, and he was like, I absolutely agree. There's stuff that they're privy to that they can't tell anybody else. So,
and fear is
what they call it, mass formation psychosis, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has swept across the globe. Your average mind is going to give in to the fear mongering, and they know this. The study of psychology that they have, they know masses. It's easy to fool the masses, and then the ones who are resistant are gonna look like the troublemakers. Those are the people who we will make examples of, or censor, or label as disinformationists or whatever, right?
It's social gaslighting. It's social gaslighting.
Right, there you go. So there's so many experiments being carried out. So many experiments that's being carried out, and there were so many people saying, follow the science. It's science. It's science. It's science. It's like, we will see how real that science is over time. And there's been a lot of backtracking. scientific backtracking since this whole thing started. Like when something's novel, that's the excuse. It's novel. We don't know. We're learning as we go along. But when they now give a remedy for something that has not been properly tested, that's where it's like, I'm waiting this shit out. I'm gonna take my chances with, if it's from nature, right? If it's from nature, I'm taking my chances with it. If it's from nature, there's some fruit or herb or spice or something that can deal with that. I'm gonna take my chance, right?
And the thing about it is, what I recognize is in cultures, even within the US, in cultures where people are more connected to the land and or the ocean, they are a lot more confident in what the land and the ocean have to offer.
Right.
But among people who are very much disconnected from the land and the ocean, they are very mentally dependent on, well, if science said, then it must be so. It's like, wait a minute. Do you realize that most, if not all, of the template pharmaceuticals are plant-based and are mineral-based and are animal-based? For instance, teratotoxin is a fantastic anesthetic, but they get like most people who eat Japanese sushi, they go for fugi pufferfish. That's where teratotoxin comes from, the fatty tissues, the liver. Again, like Dr. Amsu and Mr. Burks was saying, toxins are stored in the fat. The liver can become fatty. Even in a fish, pufferfish toxin is stored in the fat. You have to have a high level of skill and many years of experience to remove those toxic organs from fugi so that the whole fish is not poisonous when consumed. On the medical side of things, it has potential for use as a wonderful anesthetic because it slows down the heart rate and the breathing. It even gives the effect that a person is dead when they're really not dead. Our ancestors, our African ancestors, used it for a lot of different stuff. But most people don't even recognize you can neutralize that stuff with the urea from your urine.
Right.
It was my great-grandfather that taught me that. Because someone had tried to use it on him. They put it on his doorstep. They meant him great harm.
Right.
But he had enough science knowledge and knowledge of nature to know to neutralize it just by urinating on his front step. It not only physically moved it, it chemically neutralized it.
Right.
So that nobody else would get hurt. But when you're disconnected from the land and your idea of going to secure food is going to a brick and mortar and not going to your garden, you will easily be misled, because if you don't understand plants, you don't understand yourself.
Right. Exactly. And we live in a time where people are very dependent upon social media, and everyone's a broadcaster. Everybody's a presenter. Most people are addicted to their social media because everyone tells their life story or what's going on in their lives through their social media. Everyone's got an audience. So, I'm doing this. I've got an opinion on that. Let me express my opinion in a meme. Here's my thought for the day. Here's what I'm up to and all this kind of stuff. And, people who are, think themselves more intelligent than others, right, can come across condescending in the way how they deliver their messages and what their opinions are on things. And this whole follow the science, where we're finding out now that scientists who recognize the coronavirus, to be that this cannot be from nature. It's too perfect.
They've all been discredited, right?
No, they changed their stories. They changed their stories to say this is definitely from nature. this could not have been produced in a laboratory. But we wait on their opinions, be it corrupt or not. We await their opinions and call it science. Even if they've been coerced into, you can't say that. Spin that around. Turn that around. You know, the emails to Fauci that came where I'm 70-30 on this, I'm 60-40 on this. Those same guys, by getting an email, turned around and said this is only from nature. And that's what was propagated throughout the scientific community as science, you know, accepted science, that this could not have been created in a laboratory. But now it's being revealed, and it's being revealed who actually said what. That this looks most likely that it came from a laboratory. Whether it was Wuhan or some other gain of function experiments, but who's being held accountable?
You know, I just want to look this up because I've been talking about this, had this conversation several times over the last maybe a year, and it's about this scientist and science debate, right? Now, I think what's getting the rough end of the stick is science. Science, math, language, you know, there's nothing wrong with them. They are perfect in and of themselves, and we shouldn't turn our backs on science because of what's going on. But here's the thing. Just like anything else, it's used, it's funded by, it's perpetrated by, it's run by, it's owned by certain groups with regards to the information that we do get, good or bad. Okay, scientists aren't independent individuals just running around doing science. No, scientists are attached to institutional bodies, you know, government bodies, private institutions. They're usually running some kind of research. They has to be funded because most individuals, even though they're scientists, don't have a lab. No one's got a nuclear physics lab in their house. They're attached to some kind of body. Now that body is funded by somebody, whether it's a school, independent or otherwise. Okay, so when you just say generally like, you know, trust science, yes. But hold on, you have to really look at the scientists. It's almost like, say, trust anything you see in the book, regardless of what's in the book.
Who's the author?
Now,
who's the authority that authorized the author?
Now, what I wanted to talk about very briefly is, so not that long ago, 100 years ago, maybe just over 100 years ago, there was science. There was intellectual papers, white papers written. There were politicians out there claiming categorically that black people were inferior to white people. And they weren't just saying it, they produced the science. Scientists and intellectuals were coming out and saying it. What was that Darwin paper that came out? The Nature of Being or whatever it was. They had evidence. So if back then you trust the scientists, you would then believe wholeheartedly that black people were inferior to white people. They weren't just saying it, they had the science. Not to mention we've had scientists saying that women were inferior to men, and they had the science to prove it. Okay, so you can't just blanketly believe everything people say because it's coming from a scientist. Unfortunately, if the research you have to do is typically on the scientist that's saying it and not so much the science, that is something that most people are not going to have the wherewithal to really understand. But if you look at the scientist who's funding them, why they're saying it, what their agenda is, you sort of get closer to the truth. And I think that is what's suffered the most in all of this, is the attack on science as a principle isn't the problem. Okay, but yes, we must question the scientists. We must question the people who are funding those studies. Let's question the politicians that are pushing those agendas, because it's been happening. It's happening all over Africa, all over Asia, here in America, where science is being used by groups to push an agenda. And I just believe that we've seen a ton of that over the last 18 months.
It's all about things, you know, claims holding up against scrutiny, right?
But knowing full well the average person is not going to scrutinize it because they're not scientists.
Right, and that's where you have all these scientists debating other scientists. Right. You have peer review. You have what's published, and okay, is it peer reviewed? Meaning, did it can it stand up against scrutiny? What were the conditions? What was in the environment? Did they do this? Was it over 30 degrees Celsius, at the time? Right. What were other conditions that these...
It's a control. Was it controlled or not?
Right. Yeah. The controls, what state, what medical state were they in? Were there any other underlying conditions? You know, there are criteria that and scrutiny that things have to be upheld in order for it to, you know, for peers to say, all right, we accept this. It goes through what we say. Then you have a lot of papers that are out there that have, you know, 45 authors and 42 of them are, you know, didn't have anything to do with it. Their names were just added. You have ghostwriting going on, right? So we have to look at the methodology and the system, the practices that are in place to produce so-called scientific papers, right? And again, your Joe Schmo that's out there is not going to have that discernment, is not going to have the ability to even discern. Like we're sitting ducks. Your average person is a sitting duck, waiting, you know, having to trust what's being told to them, which science now becomes religion.
Yeah.
Because you are now under the auspices of what's out of your control. All you can do is either believe it or not. And I take
think,
it or leave it.
And the flip side is, again, because, you know, I'm being a scientist myself to some degree, I guess, to defend science, big S, right, is that
small s.
The flip side of it is that there are a lot of people who are not scientists who are pushing or who are elaborating scientific views that aren't really based on any science or scientific research. It's typically about the trust or not trust of people who are giving us the scientific information, which is fair, but then they can't then themselves counteract that with science they don't have. You see, so that's why I'm saying science is suffering, and we the people are suffering because we're being pushed and pulled.
Well, science cannot suffer. This is the thing. Science is in and around us, through us.
Not that science.
No, but this is what I'm saying. If we start saying that science as opposed to that science, as opposed to that science, all right, which science is actual science?
Well, that's part and parcel of what I'm trying to say. The average person can't discern that. So when you bandy that word around science, big S or small s, you're doing the same thing, which I'm saying. So, you know, sorry, we're going to go to the last question, Nadir. Give us 1 second. I hate using movies to reference things, but there was a movie years ago where aliens came to Earth, or we went to another planet or something like that, and they met a random alien, right? And this alien was a scientist because everyone on that planet had learned science to a PhD level in middle school, because every person on that planet knew everything about the planet. They knew about the fauna, because it was just, hey, when you went to school, they, you know, gave you Adam level information. Whereas here on planet Earth, 8th grade, the average, according to statistics, you guys can go look, the average American has an 8th grade education, you see. And so when, we become adults and we start debating things that are at a PhD or college level, collegiate level, and that is part of the failure as well. There are too many people who aren't educated enough, and it's not a diss. This is just a reality. Listen, go and look at the government stats. The average American has an 8th grade education. Doctor, can we go to Nadira, because it's just after 7?
Yes.
Nadira, how you doing?
Let's hope Nadira doesn't have a long one.
Well, it is, but I'll wait.
Oh.
Right. But I'll keep. Hello, everyone.
She takes out her flip pad paper
today, but I'll keep this. I'll do a quick question for today because my other question requires more time. So I just have a question about oxalates, oxalate or whatever. I don't know. What is the are the oxalates in collard greens and stuff like that? Is it really detrimental? Because I'm getting mixed ideas about it. So I'm just trying to understand, because I want to really amp up eating a lot of, my choice is to do collard greens, for example. So, because they seem to work with my digestive system pretty well. So what should I be concerned about oxalates or?
No, no. If so, it's how you metabolize, right?
Oh, okay.
It's about your metabolism. So it's like I can stuff my face with peanuts, right? There's gonna be some inflammatory response in my stomach, but it might not be anything that I even notice. I may fart for the next couple of days, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm letting out a lot of gas, I'm cool, right? But somebody else may have a high sensitivity where it kills them, right? Somebody has a breakout, their eyes swell up, whatever, right? So it's how it's metabolized. How does my body make use of this substance I've just put into my body? So oxalates, it depends on how your body reacts. Does your body have high tolerance or high sensitivity or middle of the road between the two? You know, is your body able to process that correctly? You know, and you know there are what we call polymorphisms, where we have similarities as black people with how we metabolize certain substances. We express our genetics in a certain way that we metabolize in a specific way on certain substances. So we find that with estrogens and that we are highly sensitive. We have an affinity to estrogens where we upregulate the effects, right? Where other races don't have that. So they have a higher tolerance of a substance. So it depends on you. Something works for you, the way how your body's metabolizing that substance. You know, it might be something that, all right, that's great for you. Which is why we, you know, one size doesn't fit all with everything. There's certain things that, you know, why we have a variety of foods is you might be like, man, every time I eat watermelons, I feel nauseous. Somebody else, well, man, you ain't black if you can't eat watermelons. No, nah. You know what? Just that, no, watermelons don't agree with me. You know, I have a high sensitivity to it. My stomach can't take it. You know, so it's collard greens is good for the most part. But you have some people who they eat collard greens and they literally, you know, water through their anus. It's like diarrhea, terrible. Some people throw it up. Some people bloat. You know, so and then you start dealing with, all right, what is the microbiome of that person's gut?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are many factors and, you know, and cofactors as to how you process things, how you metabolize them, how your body extracts and you know, and synthesizes nutrients or vitamins out of what you eat as opposed to somebody else. So that's why we have variety. That, all right, these typically are things that we as black people we can eat and are good for us, but there are exceptions. There is no blanket because there's so many variables. There are so many variables. That's why, you know, majority of black women in the eating the SAD diet have fibroids, but then there are those that don't. I was like, they're eating the same crap as I'm eating. Why ain't she got fibroids? Dr. Amsu, you said it's such and such. Like, how her genes are expressing themselves as opposed to how yours are, you know?
Right. So oxalates aren't
necessarily
bad, as long as I have as long as I'm digesting them properly, basically, like the collard greens, I should be okay.
As long as you're not having your body is processing them correctly. There's digestion and then there's processing.
Right. But see, that brings me to the other question, but now I'm going to have to wait because it's a length. It goes into that.
And unfortunately, you're going to have to wait until next week, Wednesday, because we will not be here on Friday.
We shan't be. Which brings me to my other point.
Okay.
About consultations. I know we talked about this last week, but we're getting a lot of, we're training up and onboarding some really very skilled and experienced consultants to be part of this. As you can see, you know, we do this a couple times a week, but we do get a lot of calls and a lot of information, a lot of queries. into private consultations. People have a lot of things to share. They have a lot of, stuff they need to tell us. And, some things are private, right, to a lot of people as well. So we really want to promote that, and we want to get these consultants up to speed. In fact, we're hoping, we have Dr. Keeler on the call. She's part of our team, and we've got some other MDs and some other nutritionists and a whole bunch of people that sometimes they during the call, they sort of keep quiet in the background. But what we're really encouraging people to do is get those consultations, because as much as we can do on these calls, first of all, you're stuck to this window, right? And there's only so much we can tell you on this call. There's only so much you can share with us. We don't have people like sort of holding their blood work up to the screen, But you can do that in a private consultation, So I believe we're it's a joke. I believe we're sharing the links in the chat. So for those of you that had questions and didn't get a chance to, whether if you're on the IG, Dr. Hampson, get a link in your link tree, please, for the consultations.
Oh, I don't have it?
No idea.
I thought you set up my
Dr.
whole
Amsu's
link
tree is controlled and managed by Dr. Amsu. I don't know. I'll have a look.
You set up my link tree.
Right. I don't know. I'll have a look.
You're fired.
Right. Again, I'm sure I was fired earlier on this morning. Wait, you can't fire me. I'm tall D. So yeah, consultations. The app, I know Edwin was on earlier on. Download the app. We've done some upgrades. Listen, if you haven't been on the app for a little while, check it out. There's the new push for Android and iPhone. There's some new features and some updates on the app. So you may need to hit the update button in your Play Store or your iOS wallet or whatever you call that thing for Apple, and get an update to the app. So some cool things there. If you've done the Detox 14, let us know, and we will give you a badge, a cool blue badge with a diamond on it to say, I did the 14. If you've done it 2 or 3 times, let us know that too, and we'll give you the badges for that. So a lot of cool things happening there. But listen, guys, it's Wednesday, it's first of our drinking days, hump day. We're going to find a new bar to go and drink copious amounts of tequila. So for the rest of you that are on a detox, stick to the detox. Congratulations for those of you on day 8, day 12. I know some people are on day 3. Again, we won't be here on Friday. We've got some other stuff to take care of. We're traveling. Well, I'll be traveling. And listen, behave yourselves. Dr. Amsu, final words, mate.
Thanks for having us. Ruth, just call me. I'm going to call you because it's ridiculous that you signed on after we finished.
She knows exactly what she's doing.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. And we'll see you next week, Wednesday.
All right, folks. Sending love as always. Behave yourselves. See you next week.
I had a match.